Newberg. My name is Lucas, and I'm here to talk to you about transgender issues. I myself am transgender. I am female to male transgender, which essentially means that I was born female, but at the age of 20, I transitioned to become male physically. Throughout my life, I was always felt male, but a transition was a way in which that I could present my gender, my felt gender, and have other perceive me as the gender that I always felt I should be. And I did this through medically transitioning, which means that I take testosterone shots every week in my leg, and I've had surgery to remove my breasts. That is essentially the process. It's different for most trans people. Not everyone goes through the same process. Not everyone wants the same sort of things. It's a very personal thing, but that is what I've gone through, and I think you'll find that more people than you think are transgender. The condition of being transgender is essentially that one feels that they are a different gender than the one into which they were born. As I've mentioned before, I have always felt male. I've never really felt female, although I did try in high school very hard to be female. I didn't see myself as being ugly or anything. I actually thought I was a very pretty girl. However, despite that, and despite how much male attention or female attention I got, despite anything else, despite trying to fit in as best I could, I just couldn't fit in. And it wasn't until I was about 17 that I figured out that it really wasn't working for me, and that I wasn't female at all. So I began to slowly take the steps towards transitioning and towards essentially inhabiting a body and through which I could live in the gender role that I felt that I have always inhabited. Fortunately, I live in Vancouver, Canada, which is a very relatively open community as far as being gay, bi, lesbian, or transgender. So I did not encounter as much opposition as a lot of people that live in other places do. And I know a lot of that opposition does stem from either moral or religious beliefs, which is totally fine. No one should ask you to change your moral or religious beliefs, just as no one should ask me to change the way in which I identify myself or the way in which my brain works that it was against my biological sex. My brain thought I was male. That's something I tried very hard to change, and I could not change it. Just as someone who has religious beliefs, even though someone may ask them to change those, should not have to change those, because that's not fair. It's what you believe, it's part of you, so you should be able to keep those. So if you do disagree, keep that in mind and grant other people the same respect that you would want to be granted in a similar situation. Transgender people aren't freaks or anyone to be scared of. I mean, I go to university, I have a part-time job, I have a girlfriend, I'm a very normal human being. As far as people who are abused and harassed and made fun of because they are transgender, I don't quite see how that can be right. I mean, within society we know that that is not a proper thing to do. That's not a proper way to behave, because obviously you wouldn't approach someone who's had a surgery and make fun of them about that surgery or harass them about that surgery, and you wouldn't do the same to someone who's had hormone treatments. And that's all I've had. That's the gist of it. I mean, any way you want to spin it, all I've had is hormone treatment and surgery. Gender is a lot more fluid than it may appear. So what I'm essentially preaching here is just keep an open mind and tolerate everyone else's differences as you would want them to tolerate yours, because everyone is different in some way, shape, or form. Nobody fits that perfectly prescribed normality box exactly. There's something unusual about all of us, and if there isn't, then that in itself is unusual. So I hope you've enjoyed my talk, and thank you very much for listening.